So if we look at the different options out there, you can do treasury bond. Treasury bond, if you would have invested a year ago, you would have, let's say you invested 100,000, you would have 3,500, and basically went up, 3.5%. Bitcoin, in comparison, you would have earned 122,000, right? Because, it basically blew out any other asset class in the last year. But you have real estate, for example, would have went down about 3.56% if you invested in in an index, right, like the REIT. Then you have oil that went down, right? So the only assets that really went up significantly, S&P 500 went up 27% in the past year, and gold went up 35%. So gold is always a great option. We provide fractional gold and silver on our platform, so you don't have to buy a whole silver bar or a gold bar. You can buy, as little as $10. You can see Bitcoin, obviously, out of all those assets, has the most risk, but also you could see that in the past year has the biggest return by far.
Breaking news, this just in, the Feds cut interest rates. So now what? Was it enough? Is it too late? We're going to talk about it. Let me just give you a quick rundown. So Guy Gotslak is today's guest. He's the president and founder of the CryptoIRA platform, MyDigitalMoney. He holds a degree in computer science and engineering from UCLA and an MBA from Northwestern University. I've had several requests to get Guy back on the show since he was last on the program. And we're also going to get into some details because a lot of people are concerned about BRICS. Did you know that BRICS is actually meeting in October after announcing they're going to be creating a crypto platform? And this new currency might be called a unit. We're going to talk about it. Is it a fiat currency? Is it backed by gold? We'll get into that. We're also going to talk about the Ethereum upgrade, what Ethereum actually is. We're going to get into the SWIFT payment system, how that works. We're going to talk about Trump's new crypto business. We're going to look at the debt, the US debt, which is astonishing. This is absolutely mind-boggling, the amount of money that is being paid just on interest every 100 days. And we're going to talk about people's concerns. A lot of people are concerned about having their money in the bank. They're concerned about the US dollar and hyperinflation. We're already seeing inflation, but what about hyperinflation? Do you remember when Zimbabwe was printing trillion-dollar notes? Forbes.com came out August 13th, 2024. The countries that have the highest inflation rates, August 2024, so we're a couple months ago. Argentina, 271.5%. Venezuela, 51.4%. Turkey, 61.78%. And Sudan, 146.6%. I will leave the link in the video description box. I mean, I'm just going to start making my own copy again and putting $15 in crypto every time I want to go out and buy a latte. I actually set up this account with MyDigitalMoney, and it's awesome because I'm in control of my cryptos. Or like if you set up your IRA through MyDigitalMoney or just a money account, they will help you. And there's so many opportunities right now in the crypto market. So check them out. You'll be glad you did. You'll thank me later. I want to read your comments in the comment section. But go to mydigitalmoney.com, mydigitalmoney.com, and you can also give them a call at 833-636-2008. Give them a call. Awesome reviews, lots of opportunities, very easy to use. Get started today and enjoy this presentation. Thanks for being here with me. You're awesome. And I was also wondering about BRICS, because every time I look at the evolution of these BRICS nations that are, they're attempting to kind of break off of the US dollar hegemony, it seems like more nations are wanting to join and they're getting closer to development. So what's the latest with BRICS right now? Are they meeting in just in a
Yeah, they're meeting in October, and they also, have been talking about, and they already have a white paper out for this, new blockchain architecture that's meant to facilitate trade between the nations. And they even talked about the currency being called a unit, which is probably going to be backed by 40% gold, and 60% will be BRICS member countries' currencies. So yeah, it's there's not a whole lot of detail yet, but basically it's going to be a system where, countries can come and mint, new units, and then they can use that to trade, right? And I mean, they're already trading less and less with the dollar and more with their local currencies. So this would be a system that would make it much more instant and easy to trade. And so, yeah, this isn't obviously the best news for the dollar, but because these nations probably represent about 45% of the global oil production, and so trading oil and non-dollar, of course, is not the best for the dollar, obviously. So, um, but it is good for blockchain innovation, and shows like another just yet another use case, right? But
Right.
that's why I think, and I've always said that the U.S. should be leading, right? They should be creating, a global trade system, right? And maybe they use a stable coin, or they use something that's more backed by a dollar, right? And that's why I've been so against, how the Biden administration has been conducting itself, especially the SEC, and kind of, driving innovation away from the U.S. and not focusing on it, right? Because you're going to have countries like China, which are going to be looking to dominate in this industry, right? And so, I think that's what we got to do is we got to look at, okay, how are we going to build a better system?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Innovation, absolutely. Hey, everybody, Rex Bear Leak Project. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. We're going to get into the latest in the economic front. We have Guy Gotslak with us. Guy, we've had a lot of people ask to get you back on the platform. I've had several people off air just recently ask me how things are going with your digital platform for the cryptocurrencies and the IRA, because they're making they're not even basically keeping up with inflation with their money in the bank. And so they're looking for opportunities. And I think that's great. And I've got some pretty important questions that I think a lot of people are on the forefront of their minds right now. Like, what are your opinions on the economy? You're seeing people where they're putting their money because that's what you do. So, first of all, how are you, man? What have you been up to?
Uh, Good, good. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Everything's going well with the business. Bitcoin's up today, so that's pretty good. Getting close to the all-time high again. Yeah, how are you?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic. It's another beautiful day today. I shared with you off air visiting a friend that's getting ready to let's just say transition, and yeah, so it just makes you realize how beautiful and precious every single moment is here with your friends and your family and those you love. So give somebody that you love a hug today, folks. They might need it. And I am also seeing a lot of stress and pressure with people when they turn on the news, right? Because they turn on the news is constantly talking about the economy and what's going on with the world, politics, and it seems like one thing that can divide a family not only is religion but politics. So we'll do our best to stay out of that as much as possible. But it does have an impact on financial opportunities and where people are putting their money in. So that's what we're going to look at it today, folks. We're going to do our best to help you be the best that you can be and be as successful as you can be. Guy has a very successful business, MyDigitalMoney, where it's an IRA platform that you can actually mix and match your cryptos. You can move them around, and there's a lot of benefits that he's going to talk about today. But I wanted to ask you, because this was something that's kind of been resonating with me when somebody asked me the other day. They said, well, where are people putting their money? Have you talked to Guy about that? Because they're interested in doing an IRA with cryptos, but they don't really know a lot about it. So are people putting their money in Bitcoin mainly, or are they mix and matching it, or where are you seeing the trends?
Yeah, so our platform specializes in IRAs, as you said, but we also do standard accounts, cash accounts, as we call it. And we specialize in security and focusing on long-term retirement. You, of course, can day trade. It's a self-trading platform, but we really focus on building that wealth long-term because we do believe Bitcoin, is going to be continuing to grow. Of course, there's ups and downs on the way. So if you're willing to ride out, a year, 2, 3 years, we think it's a great option. But you should diversify your portfolio. That's the philosophy that you shouldn't put all your money in it. But yeah, in terms of crypto, a lot of people, of course, go for Bitcoin. Like that's over half of our assets under management. And Ethereum is the second. It pretty much mirrors the market cap out there, right? and then Solana is really popular, and we have a bunch of other ones on the platform. But right now it's interesting because, as you know, the Fed decreased or cut the rates by 50 basis points. Some people saying it could be politically motivated. I mean, we knew that there's going to be quantitative easing coming around now, but usually it's standard, more standard 25 basis point cut, each time. But there was a 50 basis point cut, which injected liquidity into the market, right? And so, of course, the rates of your savings accounts or certificate of deposits are going to be decreasing. They already are, right? I had a lot of my money in a certificate of deposit, not a lot, but a good chunk that was earning about 5%, and I basically lock it in for 3 months at a time, and it's already, my bank already let me know that the rate is going to be, they're not going to be offering the same high rate, right? And so yes, I think that people are going to be looking to put their money somewhere else, right? And so I think Bitcoin is a great option. But you have other options, of course. Like, so if we look at the different options out there, you can do treasury bond. Treasury bond, if you would have invested a year ago, you would have, let's say you invested 100,000, you would have 3,500. It basically went up, 3.5%. Bitcoin, in comparison, you would have earned 122,000, right? Because it basically blew out any other asset class in the last year. But you have real estate, for example, would have went down about 3.56% if you invested in in an index, right, like the REIT. Then you have oil that went down, right? So the only assets that really went up significantly, S&P 500 went up 27% in the past year, and gold went up 35%. So gold is always a great option as well. But you could see Bitcoin, obviously, out of all those assets, has the most risk, but also you could see that in the past year has the biggest return by far, right? So as you're looking to, put your money, take it outside of cash, which you should, not just because, the interest rate went down, but, it's also, you got de-dollarization and all these things that are impacting, the dollar. So,
Well, that
yeah.
real quick, if I can, guy, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. That. So, like, how is cash reacting to the rate cut? How do you see the economy dealing with this now?
Yeah, so I mean, the cash basically is going to be decreasing, right? I mean, yeah, you basically, Americans threw into savings accounts and money market funds over the past 2 years because of the rising rates, and the money market funds hit a 2.6 trillion dollars last week, which was up from 1.5 trillion dollars in September of 2022. So you could see that there was a huge increase in cash, right, and people keeping cash around. Um, but that's going to be decreasing now. Now that we're in an easing cycle, right? Um, maybe we'll go back down to 1.5 trillion, which is $1 trillion, right? So where's that $1 trillion going to go? And so, yeah, people are really, we have clients asking us about that, if, where they should put their money, and not that we're advisors, but, is Bitcoin going to be increasing or decreasing? Is it good to move it into Bitcoin? A lot of inquiries, right? So you can see that people are looking to move their money away from cash.
Right. Right. And so are people actually seeing less than a 1% return on their interest rate with savings? Is it that low?
No, it hasn't gone down that low, right? When we're talking about like a money market account or a certificate of deposit, right? Like some people were able to get 5%, or between 4 to 5%, but now it's decreasing. It's going to be closer to 3, I think, and probably decreasing further, right, as we cut rates. So obviously people want higher returns than that, and now you're going to have more money, right, and in the economy, and so yeah, that's why we see already Bitcoin going up, because usually when rates are cut, that's how risk on assets react, right? And so of course that gets people more excited about investing in these assets too. I mean,
Right.
Unfortunately, people, invest when the price goes up instead of, when it's at an all-time low, and they should invest, but that's
Right.
how.
I read those comments sometimes. You're like, well, if it's an all-time high, why would I buy it now? And a lot of times, the majority of the movement is when things hit all-time highs because they'll hit them again and again and again. And once, I mean, that's not financial advice in any way. That's what I've seen oftentimes is like you just mentioned, people weren't buying Bitcoin as much at $7,000. They're buying it more at $70,000. It's weird, but we're
Yeah,
humans. That's how it works. We get emotional and excited, and it's
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
it's
But
pretty cool.
I think
Um,
as long as you bet like a little bit each time, that's a good strategy, dollar cost average.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I was gonna, I'm questioning here. So BRICS, these nations are gathering, they're jumping off of the US dollar bandwagon as much as possible. And then it seems like the US has talked about some type of digital currency, but there really hasn't been there's a payment plan that came out also that some people got concerned was going to change everything, but it really didn't, called Swift or something like that. Is that right? And
I'm not sure about that. I know Swift in general, that's the current system, that is essentially run by the U.S. for international remittances, right? And so that's the standard right now is in the banking system is Swift, and um, that is, of course, has a lot of issues, right? It's slow and it goes through the banks and it's expensive and all of that. So this system that I mentioned from the BRICS would essentially try to replace that, right, with a new standard of international trading. Um, and so I think we should be, developing something that rivals Swift, but is using the blockchain, right? And when I say we, I mean the U.S. Uh, yeah,
yeah, absolutely. If you have any ideas, man, let's do it. Give me a call.
yeah, let's do it.
um, wow, I'm actually kind of optimistic about the future because it seems like oftentimes these trials and tribulations appear and then the phoenix rises out of the ashes. Something amazing happens, but it's been this slow boil for so long. I mean, I was looking at the numbers as far as the U.S. debt, and we go back to 1998. We were 5,526 billion, or 5 trillion, a little over, 5.5 trillion in debt back in 1998. So now, isn't there about $1 trillion in debt added just for interest based on the debt that the U.S. has?
Every
About
100 days.
every 100 days. Every 100 days. Wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
So about 3 trillion a year, or just over. Yeah, it's crazy. So we got to cut the spending. You know what I mean? We got to also raise the revenue. Um, So I hope that we get the right policies, come January of 2025, to help us do that, right? Because yeah, it's out of control.
Yeah, and I think that people are going to start voting with their pocketbooks more. Just my 2 cents, and that's maybe all it's worth. But well, before we get into Bitcoin, let's talk a little bit about Ethereum, if we could, because you know a lot more about this than I do. You're on the forefront of this. The upgrade with Ethereum. Well, it's called Pectra. What is that?
Yeah, so it's slated for Q1 of 2025, and then there's been a series of upgrades to Ethereum, and just to back it up, Ethereum is a smart contract platform. You can build decentralized applications, right? So if I want to, build a financial application that allows me to borrow money from you directly without the bank in the middle taking a huge cut, then I can build, a decentralized lending application on top of this network called Ethereum, right? And that's what Ethereum allows you to do. And you have to basically, as a developer of this application, I have to essentially have Ethereum to pay for the computing, right? That is what allows me to run this application. And so one of the challenges with Ethereum has been, it's expensive, right? And if I want to build an application that rivals something like Visa, which processes hundreds of thousands of transactions per minute or per second, even, I can't do that right now at a large scale with Ethereum, right? Because it hasn't been what we call scalable. And so, there's been a series of upgrades that are leading towards like this scalability that allows for large scale operations, right? And so, yeah, this latest upgrade that's slated for the early next year aims to improve the not just the scalability but security and overall network efficiency and reducing the fees, right? The transaction fees. So, yeah, I think this is kind of like one of the final ones that will really get us to mass adoption. And so it's good to know about it because obviously like cryptocurrencies are like stocks in a way where if you decide to invest in a certain company, it's good to know what the company's working on, what they're doing with their new products or technologies, because that can inform your decision to either buy or sell the stock. So in the same way, with Ethereum, it's good to know, oh, this thing's coming because it could propel up the price, right? And so you might want to get in before that happens, right? Especially Ethereum used to be at 4,500, and now it's about 2,400 or whatever it is today. And so, yeah, good to keep up and read up on it without getting too much into the technical details, because I know I could lose people, but when you read about the upgrade, it gets very technical.
Well, I got to say, Guy, you've actually, and I think I mentioned this last time, and you're doing it again. You're explaining things to where anybody can understand, like the smart contracts and the way you described all that. Most people don't get that. And just a real quick explanation, it's like, oh, I get it now. Now I understand what it is. And that's really important, especially to somebody that's like, myself, nuts and bolts kind of stuff. I know most people don't care how the car drives as long as it drives good and it has, it's got that turbocharger extra. Anyway, that's a whole other
Yeah,
podcast.
right.
But I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I have some Ethereum. So you think that this could actually be a solid, a positive impact on Ethereum then?
Yeah, yeah, definitely good impact. I obviously I'm have a lot of Ethereum, disclaimer, but also Solana is a competitor of Ethereum that already has some pretty good scalability and has been gaining traction. And there's a lot of actual projects on Solana. When you talk about a project, it's basically what I was mentioning, like an application that's built on top of Solana. NFTs is one use case, right? There's a lot of NFTs out there that are built on Ethereum, but there's also a lot that are built on Solana. So it's good to diversify, right? It's like kind of like you're investing in iPhone and Android, right? Like they're both good, right? But they're different. They each have their advantages, right? And so I like to keep both.
Yeah, yeah, diversify. I like that. So the elections are coming up, and I mean, I can see people's passions on both sides, and I respect the fact that in the United States we do have the right to speak our minds. And one of the things that makes America so amazing is we can raise the flag, and no matter who we're voting for, we can have our passion for that. And so I say embrace that, but don't let it get in the way of your family and friends. And in my opinion, do your best to just be like, okay, I get it. Yes, that's why you're doing it. But here's this opportunity. And it does seem like the two parties have completely different motivations as far as where they want to go, where they want to take the nation, where the economy is going to go. We don't need to look at prices today versus what they were 8 years ago or 6 years ago with the groceries and everything else. I think everybody's already done that. They know, they're living it. It's like $12 to go out and get a latte now. So I'm going to drink cheap coffee from now on because it's another
Yeah,
$2.
I just made myself just home coffee.
So much better. $15 for a cheap latte, or $15 you can put in your crypto. Drink some coffee. That's smart. But so what do you see right now with the two policies and the crypto business that seems to be more aligned with like Trump's new crypto business, isn't it? Does he have a new thing going on or something? Or
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll say this, right? The good news is that whichever party gets elected, I think is going to be better than what we currently have for crypto, right? Uh, Trump has been pretty pro crypto. He's not an expert in crypto. Just a few years ago, he was against it, or he didn't think, he thought it was a scam. 4 years ago, however long ago that was. But he's come around to it, partly because his sons have been very active in the industry, and he just kind of like has been talking to industry experts, and he's very pro innovation in general, and so he has been involved in a new business called World Liberty Financial. Uh, Actually, the day of his second assassination, he had a Twitter Spaces interview scheduled, and he actually kept that appointment. And I listened to it on the same day, so that was good dedication to the topic. And he talked about, generally, he didn't get into a lot of details of the business, but he talked about how generally, he really trusts his sons and a lot of smart people that he knows, and they believe in it, and he's supporting it. And he spoke at the Nashville Bitcoin conference and everything, and uh, then his son Donald Trump Jr. got on and spoke about how he used to have access to credit. The Trump family had, they could just make a phone call within minutes, they get millions of dollars. And then once they got into politics, it became harder. And he actually had a startup where he went into the bank account to pay payroll, and the money was gone, and he, was panicking. He thought they got hacked, and they called the bank, and the bank was like, "Yeah, we're cutting you off, so we sent you a cashier's check." And now it's harder for them to get credit. Of course, they're still, in a better position than most. Um, but that kind of, was part of why he got into this business, because, he wants to create a more fair system, right? A fair system that, basically provides credit, not just to, the elite, but, makes it more accessible. And he talked about tokenization of assets like real estate, and how, in a down market, the Trump family can take advantage of, being able to invest in things, for pennies on the dollar. But a lot of people can't like buy a whole house, right, during down cycles. So this gives opportunity, because it allows you to buy, a fraction of a house. You can put in $1,000 or $10,000, which I found surprising, because of course a lot of people would have you think the Trump family is very exclusive with their wealth, but I think they are aligned with the vision of kind of crypto in general. Like, they talk about wanting less regulation, more efficiency, and that's what crypto is all about. And so I like the vision of that, right? They didn't get into a lot of detail on the business, other than to say, provides credit, uh, in a more fair way. And I think it will work on Aave, which is a decentralized kind of like lending platform that allows borrowers and lenders to come on and lend and borrow. And actually, we have Aave on our platform. Uh, so that's the only detail I got there. But the good news is, like, Harris also came out a few days ago, and I think she was speaking to Mark Cuban, and she talked about how she is less for regulation by enforcement approach that the SEC has taken, right? And that she generally wants to support innovation, but also ensure consumer protection, right? So there hasn't been a lot of action from her, but at least she's saying the right things. Um, so yeah, I think we're going in a good direction, whichever party gets. But Trump is more pro crypto, I would say. He's the party that you'll probably see a higher price spike in the short term if Trump gets elected. But in the long term, I still believe we're going where we're going.
It's just inevitable. It's the future. The future is now. Wow. Yeah. Everything's gone into the cloud. It's so digital now, so Wi-Fi. And it's also instant. It's like the age of Aquarius. I think of this. I'm getting a little bit woo-woo here, but you look at the different ages in the zodiac, and the age of Aquarius, even though technically we haven't entered there yet, because you have to go to the equator and look at where where the galactic plane rises during the equinox or something, to see where we're in and what age we're in the zodiac. But we're getting close to that age of Aquarius where everything's instant, and it's like it's air, it's wireless, it's all just it's pretty cool. It's technology, it's innovation, and some people fear innovation, and I understand they're scared of artificial intelligence, but same time, you've got artificial intelligence that's coming up with solutions that are getting rid of forever chemicals and figuring out ways to solve some of the problems that we made in the past as a species. So go AI, just do the right
Yeah.
thing, have the right programmers. So cool, man. I really like that. Now, I've also been like wondering though, if things do get decentral or centralized, as an example, like could Bitcoin, would it become a possible global currency? Could it actually offset the or Ethereum or some of these cryptos that are centralized versus decentralized? Like, what do you see the emergence of these battling each other possibly, or rising in price, or the future, I should say, of centralized
Yeah,
versus
yeah. So Bitcoin's already, a global currency. Could it become the global reserve currency? I'm not sure about that. I think it's another currency that helps. First of all, protect yourself, right? Because it's outside of government control. There's a limited supply, right? You can't print as much as you want, like with the dollar and other fiat currencies. And so it's good to keep it on reserve. And actually, Trump talks about keeping a certain amount. In reserve. And Senator Loomis, is talking about coming up with a bill that requires the U.S. government to keep 5% of the total supply. So it could help, right? Like to have it protect yourself and be able to retire, right? That's what we focus on, right? As most Americans say they can't retire now, and they need to work, later and later, like beyond the retirement age. Um, and so, having Bitcoin and being able to take advantage of, let's say, 35%, average return per year, right? Or more. It's been 65% in the last 10 years, right? But I imagine that they can't sustain that, but still 35, 40%, can get you to millions, right? So yeah, I think it's a good way to protect yourself, and it's supplementary to the whatever the global reserve currency is, which hopefully the dollar stays that way. Um, but yeah, so I think it's and other currencies, there'll be other currencies that also have their place there, right? It's just like you have multiple, you know, you fiat currencies, right? You'll have, multiple global cryptocurrencies too. They're
right
just
on.
more global, right? So it's easy to transact and um, a lot of advantages.
Yeah, I mean, if you know your keys, like if you got your keys, you can. It's amazing what you can do. Absolutely, versus having to have a big wad of cash stuffed in your pocket or under your shoes. You've got that just digital access, and that's really cool. And people say, "Well, Rex, what if a solar flare hits?" Well, if a solar flare hits, I mean, dude, we're all screwed. Okay, if a solar flare hits, that's going to be the least of your concerns, man. Enjoy your life, dude. Like live your life, and don't be in fear of like that. But whatever, I get it. So I don't think anything would really be that good. Maybe eggs. If you had some eggs, you could like cook them.
Yeah, I make scrambled eggs.
um, but hey, man, I know your time is super valuable. I feel so honored that we have time to talk today. And I've got just a couple of quick questions I'd like to ask before
Yeah,
we
of
finish up.
course.
So, where are you going right now? Like, where are you focusing your monies with the current trends in the digital
Yeah,
currencies?
yeah. So I focus my money on Bitcoin, various cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin is the one that I have the most of, just because there's the most liquidity. The ETFs that released in January obviously have blown up. They've been the Bitcoin ETF is the best performing ETF in the history of ETFs, right? And so that's really, and a lot of institutions have gotten into it, right? So there's a lot of legitimacy. Usually, even banks are, investing in it. So, you usually they know if you follow what they do, you're in good shape. So yeah, but obviously I don't put all my money in there, right? Because they say you should have, I don't know how many months, maybe 3 months of cash, right, to sustain your life, your expenses, right? But then the rest, if you keep it in cash, you're is just losing a lot of value. So I do real estate as well. And full disclosure, I like to have physical property, alternative assets in general, right? Gold is good too. We provide fractional gold and silver on our platform, so you don't have to buy a whole silver bar or a gold bar. You can buy as little as $10. So yeah, I'm well diversified in all of those.
Right on, right on. And so I remember there was a lot of talk about the Bitcoin halving before it happened, and there was a lot of speculation about the price of Bitcoin hitting a lot higher than it did. So my question is, it seems like that didn't quite, I mean, it went up a lot, but it didn't go up as much as some people speculated based on previous halvings. So does that mean it still could be like on the horizon for that, or is that ship already sailed?
No, it has not. Yeah, usually it goes up. You look at the price a year after the halving, and that's when it's really high. And it hasn't been a year, right? It hasn't even been 6 months. Um, and now we're getting to this quantitative easing. So I think the conditions are starting to be right for that. We never said that the price is going to go up before the fourth quarter of the year, like to a new all-time high, right? We said probably fourth quarter, and after, and now China, is getting into quantitative easing as well. They're making big moves towards that. So there's going to be a lot of liquidity there, and of course, Bitcoin's global, so that should affect. I mean, I think what happens in the U.S. right now does affect the Bitcoin price the most, but China going into quantitative easing should have an impact as well. And so, yeah, I think we're just getting started in terms of the getting to a new all-time high. Today, the price rose up. I forget how much it is, but I think it's 65,000. Yeah, 65,500 just rose up about 4%.
Nice. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking real good. 65, 588.40 at this moment, according to Google BTC price. That's what I'm talking about. I want to show off your website because what's the next step? How am I getting involved?
Yeah, it's simply just go to mydigitalmoney.com. It takes about 5 minutes to sign up. Usually even less. And you can always call us as well. The number is on the website. So we're one of the few companies that actually picks up your call. We have people that are very knowledgeable in the US that, will answer questions about what is Bitcoin, how to sign up, how to use the platform, even though it's very easy to use. And you can open a Play Money account if you want to just practice with the platform before you actually invest any money into it. Yeah, if you want to transfer an old IRA or a current IRA or an old 401k, you basically just put in your custodian information and we initiate the transfer for you, make it easy, and you can basically just sign in, just like with crypto exchanges that you might be using, and you can buy and sell. It's pretty easy. And yeah, mydigitalmoney.com. You can always call us as well. And the number is 833-636-2008. But it's all on the website.
Cool. Okay, and there's tax benefits with this.
Oh yeah, because it's an IRA, right? And so yes, you get the same tax benefits as you get with IRAs. So you can either do a traditional or a Roth IRA. So traditional IRA, you basically defer your taxes, right? You basically save on taxes now, right? You're taking pre-tax dollars, and later you pay taxes. But when you're taking distributions, you basically take taxes like income, right? And then the Roth IRA basically you put in post-tax money, but you don't pay any taxes. So let's say Bitcoin gets to $1 million in 10 years, right? Then you basically your money went up more than 10 times, and you don't pay taxes on that, right? So you don't have to worry about the taxes every year, because that's one of the biggest complaints I hear about crypto, right? Is like figuring out how to pay taxes. We also make it easy. If you do have a cash account, we have the report laid out for you, so it's easy for your accountants too. But because it could get hard, right? Like especially if you have all these private wallets and you're making a bunch of transactions, right? It gets hard to calculate the gains, right? But you don't have to do that with an IRA. Um, yeah, and our platform is super secure. So that's one of our main kind of selling points, is that um, you are not an unsecured creditor like you are with Coinbase and a lot of other platforms. So you legally own it, even though we're managing the wallet for you. Um, we're not legally allowed to use your assets, right? And so and auditors come in and they check, that basically what we have matches, the books, right? So yeah, it's legally owned by you, and it's cold wallets too, right? So your crypto is offline, and so that keeps it away from hackers. So all the stuff you need for, securing your nest egg, right? That's very important because this is your retirement plan or part of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Much appreciated, guy. I am actually, maybe next time we talk, I could show mine through this real quick and just do a quick, like, hey, this is, this is mine, this is da da da, and give people more of an idea. But I've had so many people ask me about this already that I think that this is going to help them. And I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I enjoy Arizona. And yeah, read up on Ethereum, on crypto, and go to MyDigitalMoney.com, and you can always call us, ask questions, and we'll be there.
Cool. I'm going to leave the link specific in the video description box. I'm also going to put it, I'll pin it in the comment section, folks. It'll be real easy for you to find. Even on your phone, you'll just see it right there. So click that link, take advantage of the opportunity. You'll thank me later, and keep being the change you want to see. Thanks, guy.
Thank you.